going on, guys? So today we are going to be installing the Haloview camera system on the rig. So the whole point of this, and the nicest thing about this, is obviously trailers aren't getting any smaller nowadays. All they're doing is getting bigger. So this is, super important. I didn't necessarily want to have to install cameras, but the rig behind me is 38.5 feet long. So if I'm backing into something blindside, I have a whole lot of area that I cannot see, and it's something that I wasn't really willing to do. So the kit that I got is the RD7 monitor. I have the 4-camera system, so I'm going to be replacing both front clearance lights, the backup camera, and then I'm going to actually have a 4th camera, which is going to be getting installed over top of the door. When I'm not using this screen inside the truck for traveling and whatnot, I'll actually be able to monitor it inside, put the screen inside. I'm going to have a 12-volt port inside for it, which is awesome for security. With how this system sits exactly, we can't do that straight out of the box. I will have to put some sort of recording on it if I want it to be able to record. But it would be nice to be able to look at the outside of the unit if by chance you do hear or see something, you'll have that ability. So within this system, we're going to have our main monitor, which is mostly going to be going into the truck. There's a lot of antennas with this system. We will figure out where these go after. So we have a couple different types of camera styles in here. So this is obviously going to look familiar to a lot of people. So anybody that has a camper that's like Fear Young camera ready, this will mount directly in its place. So you won't have to worry about it looking out of place or looking a little funky. This will replace that whole cover and works with the same type of power connection. So that's awesome. And again, we have 2 of these. One of these is going to be used for over the door. The other one's going to be used for the backup camera. This is a wireless transmitter, just kind of boosts the signal to get the signal up to the truck. Again, these rigs aren't getting any shorter, so obviously they're having to boost some power and whatnot to be able to get you a good non-laggy type connection. Now, here are the fun things. So these are the cameras that are going to be going onto the side. The nice thing about these versus some of the other systems is that they are LED, which is a huge advantage, at least in my book. Why are we still using standard incandescent style bulbs these days? I don't know, but I'm super excited about these. They are IR capable, so they can see in the night. We'll go through and test that as once we have it on and we're rolling down the rig, or rolling down the road, I should say. Sorry about the background noise. We're next to a pretty busy road, so I'm trying to block that noise out, but if you still hear it, sorry. So again, we do have 2 of those cameras, one for each side. There is a couple different ways that you can mount these. For the most part, what they're going to come with, which you can see on the back here, is your simple wiring. It's going to be your ground and your 12 or 24 volt, which is also a benefit. Majority of trailers are 12 volt, so you're not going to have to require that 24 volt. But there are a handful of people that have switched over to 100% solar or 24 volt systems, and it's nice that you wouldn't have to put another converter or drop the voltage down. It is capable of running on both. This is the mount for inside the vehicle. It's actually pretty neat. It's a thin piece of plate steel, so you can kind of, bend and, contour just about around anything that you want. It's a little ball head, so, well, not a full out ball head, I should say. It is, rotates this way and then this way. But you'll be able to get set up anywhere within your vehicle for that. I'm still not 100% sure where I'm going to put that. I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit in the cab, see where I like it. As far as hardware, it comes with a ton of different zip ties to be able to get your cable management under control. There's not a ton of wiring here, but there's enough. All right, so the first thing obviously we got to do is get this cover popped off. You know, which isn't anything crazy, they just stick on there. The big thing that you're going to have to pay attention to is that all these lights, for the most part, are going to be siliconed around. I always try to pull them off first, you know, nice and slow, but you may end up having to cut it. And that's it. So with this, you know, at least, you know, my camper, yours may be different. I would have honestly been, you know, preferred to be able to pull these out further and actually splice into these wires. Unfortunately, I'm actually going to have to clip here to tie in with the Haloview system. But just keep that in mind. It's not an issue. It's completely fine. Just know that you may have to do that. So first, we're going to have to get all this stuff cleaned off. So with this installation, I just realized reading the instructions, it actually doesn't go into the same 2 holes. It requires 4. I'm going to guess just because obviously the camera's added weight. So prior to me putting the cover on, I am going to just, you know, push some silicone into these holes. They'll be sealed up around it anyway, but again, it's just good practice, especially with RVs. Anytime you can seal any hole, seal it. So with these cameras, you do have to make sure that you use the right polarity, you know, plus and minus, whatever you want to call it. The easy way to tell pretty much all of your light, you know, I don't know if it's going to be able to focus in here or not, but you'll be able to see, you know, plus and minus where they're soldered to the board, and you can look down to see what color you're using, because it's not always going to be your white and black. So in this case, yellow is positive, white is negative. All right, so the next step is to simply wire it. These are I want to say Wago or Wagyu. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it. Either way, become a huge fan of them. You can get them in all sorts of different terminal sizes. These are obviously just the 2s. Simply push the wire in and push the arm down. You can tell by hanging there. Just become a really big fan of those connectors. They're rated just as high as any twist. They actually work a lot better on stranded and solid core wires. These are actually crimps. They look like twist locks, but they're actually crimps. But twist locks you're not supposed to use with stranded wire, which is going to be 90% of everything in your RV other than the 110 stuff. So I'm just making sure that, you know, I'm square over the hole. And, you know, before I put this down, I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of sealant behind here, just around this hole, and again, those 2 screws. I just wanted to make sure I did that prior to putting stuff on there and then making a mess. So yeah, that's about it. Put this antenna on. So I'm up on the back for the backup camera. So my unit came, from the factory prep for, the Fury on camera, which I would say 90% of units do nowadays. So I took the Halo camera out of its housing, and it will mount inside this. The only downfall is there's this little tiny opening right here, which isn't going to be, sealed. So my OCD is not going to allow it. Obviously, as you can tell by theirs, that is not present. So because of that, I'm going to take this housing off and replace it with the one that came with the Haloview. Ooh, don't fall off the ladder. All right, so I just got, this new backing plate back on, which I'm not going to lie. In comparing the both of them, I'm happy I did. I'm a flat black kind of guy, so getting rid of the shiny, cheaper looking stuff, I'm not going to complain about. That looks, quite a bit better. And then obviously there's no openings on the top, so that's another huge improvement. So I'm definitely happy about that. I mean, I was still silicone around the top and those two top screws, but so far so good. Got figure out the camera above the door. That's going to be a fun project. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that one yet, but I want to at least get the two side cameras up front are installed and this one installed, and then I'm going to power the system on just to make sure everything's working so far. So the one thing I'm going to do with this install, on the camper when I got it, it had a female power cord on it, which the Haloview comes with female on the camera itself. They do bring a whole bunch of adapter cords and everything else to be able to retro it over, but there's just gonna be way too much length, and again, I'm a cable management type guy, so I'm gonna trim this down even shorter. Same with that, and then I'm gonna solder everything together just to keep it nice and tight and watertight. Another quick tip, you can actually see the orientation of the plug. Those top two terminals, that's direct battery power to the running lights. So doing that will turn on all of the running lights on the trailer while not having to be hooked up to a truck, because otherwise, sometimes that can just be a pain in the butt. But let's go to the truck and see if we can get these things to sync. So I'm not 100%, shut the door so it's not dinging. So I'm not 100% sure on where I'm going to end up mounting this. I'm most likely going to do it somewhere, I think, over here. Still not really sure, but let's get this thing turned on. Oh, that was easy syncing. So in the instructions, it says there are buttons on all the cameras that you have to supposedly go through and press to sync with this screen. But it must already come pre-synced because I just turned it on. So that's awesome. The other cool thing about these cameras is there's actually sound. So the awesome thing about that is, if you have your wife or partner helping back you up, you'll actually be able to hear them through this. So you can select, which one you want the volume coming through. Right now, you can see with the little arrow up there, the volume is on that one, but and then I think you can go through and probably, you can select them one at a time. Oh, that's gonna make life so easy. Well, not easy, but easier. We will have to adjust it. That's fine, because we'll adjust it to put cam 4, which is the backup camera, onto cam 3. That might actually hook up, because we still need to hook up this camera above the door. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, I'm super excited about this. That's awesome. That was super easy. So just wrapping up, as you can see, I was able to come down the door frame here, drilled a little hole here, obviously just a little piece of rubber conduit just to protect it. And then comes up under here, and I'm tying power into here. I still gotta tidy all this stuff up. This is the sending unit for this camera, so again that will get mounted somewhere up here in the frame, but I'll tidy all that up. I mean, as you can see, the wire connections are here. Sorry, can't tell if that's focused or not. But as far as being able to get the camera over the door, I did all of that without having to drill any holes other than the mounting screws for the camera, which isn't a huge deal. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm gonna go jump into the truck and see if this camera connects. Alrighty guys, so I abandoned putting the monitor down there. Luckily with my truck, I have a truck cap on, so my rear view mirror is honestly worthless. And because of that, I ended up deciding to mount my mirror, or my camera monitor, up here. It comes down no further than the standard mirror. I had all the power up in the top up here to be able to get the power to it, and it has worked amazing for me. I fully get that this isn't going to be the best thing for most people, but again, I have the cap on the back of the truck, so my rear view mirror didn't do anything for me anyway. So this has worked well with me. It's also, it's a different install than most, but it has really been nice to be able to keep everything out of line of sight, and it be right there when I'm backing up or whatnot, or honestly even going down the highway and I just want to double check that nobody's next to the trailer or in a blind spot. We have about 2,000 miles on the trailer now with the cameras installed. It works really well. It does have a little bit of lag to it, which you have to get used to, so that was a little bit of a down. But as far as to back in and out of sights and whatnot, and what I was hoping to get out of it, just to kind of give me some reference on that that blind side, it's been amazing. I'll actually include a time lapse of me getting out of this one spot where it was literally a hard 90 one way to a hard 90 the other to another 90, and with a 40-foot travel trailer, it was probably the hardest spot that hopefully I'll ever have to deal with. But with these cameras, I didn't have any spotters, and it worked awesome. So I'll include that, but other than that, guys, this is pretty much sums it up. Give these guys a check, and have a great one.